Why did you click on this video? Was it because you're bored? The title caught your eye and you're just looking for an interesting way to pass the time? Is it because you are actively searching for information and knowledge about this topic? Or did something happen recently and you feel lost or disappointed in yourself, and maybe this video can help you change who you are and what you do with your time? Either way, did you choose to watch this video of your own free will? Or were you compelled to do so by forces that you are currently unaware of, such as your upbringing, neurophysiology, or how hungry you are right now? Well, in today's 8-minute video, we will be talking about the battle between determinism and free will. Something that I would say hasn't made any progress in 300 years or so. If you're like most people, you probably said you chose to watch this video of your own free will. So what does that even mean? Well, free will is the ability of individuals to make choices or decisions voluntarily without being constrained by external factors such as coercion or determinism, which we will talk about next. It implies that individuals have the power to act according to their own desires, intentions, and beliefs. And most importantly, it only is possible to act freely if there are alternative choices that could be made. This is the principle of alternate possibilities, which again states that an action is free only if the agent could have done otherwise. Obviously, me, you, all of us are agents. Now, at least this is the classical definition of free will. There's a lot of debate about what free will really means, and that will be in a later video. And the alternative to free will is, of course, determinism. The idea that decisions that you could possibly make 1 second from now are caused by the state of your mind and body at this moment currently. And the state of your mind and body at this moment currently is the result of the state that you were in just moments ago. So on, so forth, all the way back to the Big Bang. So free will, if we want to try and describe it in a shorter terminology, this will relate to computer science, is a top-down causation. It's very, very debated what that really means, but we'll try and say it in these short sentences, which is a top-down causation is one where, for instance, water. The properties of a liquid are very different than the properties of the molecules and particles that make up that liquid. So when we are describing and observing liquid properties, we cannot say that the pieces that make up that liquid also have those properties. This is a top-down. Basically, the final result, the properties and qualities that we get at the end result are not present during the creation of this formal system, so water. Determinism, on the other hand, is a bottom-up approach. It is a causation chain that goes from past to future. There's, of course, debate about whether it's possible to go back in the past, but we'll save that for another video as well. And so the most important thing with these two definitions to me is what's really the difference. In the classical definition of free will, you are still making choices based on who you are currently and maybe who you'd like to be in the future. And I find this interesting because what we are saying is that you are only going to choose between a certain amount of possibilities, or again, the principle of alternative possibilities. And you, as a free will agent, would likely not choose to do things like murder or some other horrible action. You also are constrained to only choosing between the decisions that you actually could do. You can't choose to fly, you can't choose a job that you're not qualified for, and you can't choose to make a beef Wellington tonight without the ingredients, recipes, and cooking skills necessary. So what this is important for is to say that you are constrained to only doing a certain amount of things. I can't teleport for certain. And this is a whole nother can of worms as to whether there's really anything that you could do that's free, because technically you are constrained to only a few different choices, and maybe the one that you would do if you truly had free will isn't a part of those choices that are possible. Now, what we could say is, yes, you might could do small feats that are very similar to the things that you can't do that you wish you could do. For instance, you might jump very high for a short duration. That would be considered flight. However, of course, it's not the flight that we are imagining. You also could, apply for that job and get that job without all the prerequisite knowledge and qualifications. However, after a few days, maybe you get lucky and you last a few weeks, you'll get found out rather quickly and you'll be let go. Of course, you could make a beef Wellington, and I've seen people do this without any of the ingredients, without any of the skills. But I wouldn't eat that beef Wellington, and I don't think you'd feed it to your family or children. So if you notice with this, there's a problem. And I mentioned that briefly earlier. That problem is how many alternate possibilities constitute a situation where a decision could even be considered free. Do you need one alternate possibility, or do you need a million? This is, of course, subjective, which is where all of these arguments for and against free will kind of break down, because a lot of it really becomes subjective when you get to a very deep level. So let's pose a experiment or a thought example where you go to an ice cream store, or let's say ice cream truck. You might be a chocolate lover, but for this example, let's just say you're a vanilla lover, and you'll never, ever, under any circumstance, eat chocolate. So you go to this truck, the truck driver says, what would you choose? Well, if you don't like chocolate, then of course you're going to choose vanilla. And so this would follow the deterministic idea. So you might freely feel as though you freely chose vanilla, but there is no reason to think that you would do otherwise. Your action is predictable, and that would fall in line with classical determinism. So now let's imagine you go back to that ice cream store. You loved your vanilla ice cream. The next day you decide to cheat again, and you're not really invested in your goals. You go back to this beautiful ice cream shop that is upgrading. They have expanded their business, and now they offer birthday cake, vanilla, chocolate, cookie dough, and even strawberry. Let's again say you love vanilla, but you also like mint a little bit. And occasionally you do get cookie dough. So this time the shop owner asks you, what would you like? And instead of the previous example where the options were one that you loved and one that you hated, you now have to choose between which one do you like more, vanilla, cookie dough, or mint. In this scenario, you get an inkling of what free will might be. And that is, in my opinion, choosing between equally apparent stimuli. What I mean by that is, if no one flavor has a greater affinity or attraction to you, the one that you choose would be an act of free will, because you are not compelled to choose between a bad option and a good option. Of course, if you were choosing between two things, one that you like and one that you dislike, you would inevitably choose the good option. So in this scenario, we are now choosing between equally good options. And this is important because this would be something that is non-computational. Computation is basically just a formula, a rule, or a mathematical equation that occurs in the first scenario where you have one choice clearly outweighing or outcomputing the other. Vanilla weighing more in the formula than chocolate does. But in this scenario, mint, cookie dough, and vanilla all weigh equally. And so you will need something else to make that decision. That something else would have to be non-computational. It would have to be something that is not a part of the equation originally, but can go back and add weight to one of the different variables in that equation, top down. That can change the value of one of these equal parts to being more valuable than the other two parts. And so in this scenario, let's say you chose cookie dough. The evidence here would indicate that this decision was a free will decision. But then the question comes up, was it really? Perhaps today you woke up and saw an ad for cookies on your phone. And so when you went to the ice cream store, that earlier desire for cookie dough interfered with your ability to act freely, because that previous stimuli compelled you by just a few percentage points to then choose cookie dough. This, of course, is not an attempt at me to discourage you from believing in free will. What this is saying is, in order for free will to exist, it must be able to overcome all previous experiences. And we also shouldn't consider something a free decision if previous stimuli and experiences influenced it to be the choice made. So now that we've half-assedly explained free will versus determinism, we've scratched the surface, and I mean the surface because this is a incredibly deep and complex topic that isn't just explainable by these definitions. It calls into question theories of quantum mechanics. It calls into question possibilities for emergent phenomena. It also has moral implications. How can we put somebody in jail if they are determined rather than acting freely? With all that being said, though, I want you all to make a decision. Tell me in the comments, do you believe in free will? Do you believe determinism is all there is? Or do you believe in some sort of compatibilist perspective where both can exist at the same time? If it helps, I would like for you all to comment your experiences with free will, where you believe that you made a free will decision. I want you to try and explain away all of the stimuli, preferences, and experiences that might make it seem that it wasn't a free will decision so that I can better understand where you're coming from and what you think constitutes a free will decision. Keep in mind, none of this is provable. None of this is fact for the most part. There's no accepted belief whether free will exists or determinism is all there is. And so I want you all to become interested in this. Share this with your friends. Have conversations about this and maybe do your own videos, do your own research papers so that we can finally get the ball rolling a little bit faster and hopefully come to a consensus agreement. Though personally, I don't believe this will happen in my lifetime, it is still such a good way to spend my lifetime. If you like this video, topics like this, please subscribe, share the video. It helps me know that you all care about this stuff the same way I do. I'll be posting more about topics like this, cosmology, philosophy, physics. I have a video planned that will be about 30 minutes that goes completely in depth on determinism. Again, 30 minutes is not enough time to get the truth out there. But 30 minutes is enough time for me to introduce new theories and possibilities and get the ball rolling even more. Thank you for spending some time with me, watching this video, listening to what I have to say about this topic. Please be respectful in the comments. Respond to other people's comments as well. The discussion behind these things are so interesting to me. And I appreciate all of you for watching my very first video. Take it easy.